Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Vishal. In this video, I'll show you how to build this lantern model. I'll be using the curve tools and then use the screw modifier and try to deliver this product. I've not done the details, but the core of the model has been built with this simple tools, and it's an absolute beginner tutorial. And stay tuned with the video. Let's get started. Let's get started with the model. So first I've got this Blender default scene. So I'll switch to the orthographic front view by pressing 1 on the keyboard. So I could verify myself that I'm in the orthographic front view here. I'm going to delete the cube, and if required, I can delete these two objects like camera and light, not required. And then I press Shift A on the keyboard and then go to the image and then choose the background here. And then load the image which you have with you. So I'm going to select this lantern. And then I can just go to the data section here, and then we have opacity option. And then reduce opacity to control the opacity. We have offset options here where I can generally move this image in the width and the height using offset X and Y. And then we also have the size option where we can scale this lantern image however we want it. One thing I would like to say is I cannot exactly trace this image because this image is in the perspective view, where I could see the tank's top view and here the top's bottom view, which means this is a perspective view. Orthographic drawings are completely different where I may not see this top view like that. So in that sense, generally you need to imagine yourself and try to trace it out. So don't exactly match the outline what we have here when you are modeling it. This is only just a reference guide, nothing more than that. So if I generally rotate my orthographic view to the perspective view, immediately you should be able to see the image gets disappear because of the type of the image plane which I have loaded. So background does that job for you. I press Shift A and then go to the curve, and then we have an option called path. So path has point type, and then we have got handle type. So I'll be choosing the path, and then once you have created the path is basically aligned horizontally. Go to the add path section, rotate Y 90 degrees, which will give you the vertical alignment of this particular path. So I can just go a close up to that, press G, and then also use the scale tool to scale and then move this curve here. So I'm using G to move that curve, okay? And I'm roughly placing it at this particular point, and then I can go a little bit close also and then match this outline here. So instead of tracing that, I'll be tracing this here to get this shape. So I press tab, and then you should be able to see I've got these points here. I'll not use too many tools here. Just I'll keep it simple. I select the tab and then select the point, then use the G and then start moving that point. If you hold Control and then right click, you can add a point there. So at every crease or the sharp corner, I prefer to add 3 points, which will give me the crease there. And then here there is a slight bump. So I'll just add this point elevator, and then slightly I'm going to dip here. And then here I'm going to add 3 points and then take it up to the center there. And then I do the same thing on the bottom side here. Okay. I'm going to move this point a little bit up, G, and press Z, and then you move it slightly above, and then Control right click and then add 3 points in the corner, and then add the curvature there, then 3 points here, and then again slight arc there. So every corner I'm going to add 3 points, 3 points, 3 points, and then I'm going to add this line which comes all the way to the center there. I can select this particular point and then enable this, and then make sure that this is increment is on, and then move it to the center there. I'll enable the absolute grid snap and then just move it to that particular point. I can do this with the same here and then start moving to that grid point. And this one also just keep it aligned to that grid point to get a precise straight line there. So I can select all those points and then move it to the grid point. And that helps me to get the straight lines precisely. And then if you should be able to see, you got a curve, which you can convert that into a mesh also. Okay. Or you can use the same curve and then use a deformer or a modifier to make it a geometry. So I'll show you both the ways. So I select this particular curve or path which I have created. I'll go to the modifier section here, go to the modifier and then type screw, and then you should be able to get this screw. Okay, so I'll just undo and then go to the front view here. Press Shift A, go to the empty, and then just choose this plane axis, which is going to create a crosshair sort of empty, which is only visible in the viewport. It has got the transformation or transform node, but it is not having any shape. It is renderable. So it's there just to help you out in certain transformations. So let's keep this empty, which is empty 001, which is in the folder of this empty here. So let's keep this one like that only. Select our curve, which is the NURBS path. Let's make this as a tank. Okay. Then go to the add modifier and then apply the screw modifier. Then in the object list, choose empty, and then you get this nice result here. The axis can be changed however you want. So Z is the default one. So if I just come to the front view, you should be able to see the tank. So here you see the gap because this image is not precisely centered. But when you move this image plane, and then you can adjust it. But as I told you, I'm just referring a perspective view and trying to match it in the orthographic, which is not really correct, but it's just a guide for you. So select that model, and then if you could able to see here, we have the wireframe, and then you should be able to see there are very less number of points here on the axis. So you can increase that axis as you wanted there, like that. Okay, so you can switch it off once you are done, and then you got your first model here. So this is the idea which I'm going to use to create all the other parts here. Let's see how this is going to, get completed. It's all the same tool I'm going to use, except in certain scenarios. So let's see. Now I'm going to press Shift A and then go to the curve and then choose the path again, and then rotate Y 90 degrees. And then I'm going to scale this, okay? Scale this and then press G and then start moving it like that. I switch off this snap option here and then scale it and then move it up to this particular point there, okay? I'll come here. Now press Tab and I've got this shape here. As I told, I want to hold Control right click and then start creating these shapes there. I can select these 2 points and then go to the segments and choose subdivide, which is going to give me one additional point which can be added on the top here. So I'm going to change the type here, which is basically the select box. Okay, just I can select that, press G and Z and then move it down, and then hold Control right click, and then start placing the points here just to create the tray where you're making this metal frame where you are going to place this glass like that. So once that is done, you could maybe model certain things which are there here. Like for example, we have this slight elevation here, which is going to keep the wick in center. So we have a wick which is wider. So I'm going to select this particular point and then use the increment and then snap it to the center. And then switch off that increment, and then you can start moving those points as you wanted them. So hit Tab and then you got the curve, okay? So let's say if I right click on this and then convert this into the mesh, this turns into a mesh, okay? Where you got all these points on the model, which are like a polygon model, okay? So you can select this one also, okay? And then you can go to the screw and then choose your empty, and then you can increase the viewport subdivision, okay? So if you could see, I've got 55 or maybe 60. Then I preferably use the same number with all the models which I'm going to building on top of it. So I'm not focusing on the details of this model. I'm just trying to get the base shape, okay? So you should be able to see got this model here. So let me just go. And then we have the glass. Now you know what to do. Press Shift A, go to the curve, and then we have the path, then rotate 90 degrees, then press G and then scale it. And once you got this, you can choose the rotation option, then press G to move it, and then start moving those points as to trace up the shape. So I press this one. I can choose maybe if you don't want this manipulator to be visible, so select this one, which is the selection tool, then press G and then start moving it like that. Control right click, and then here there is a sharp corner, 3 points is the rule, and then place it up to here, okay? Now come down, then select this one, press G and then move it, then move it. So just try to match the black line, not the orange one. Select that point, then control right click and then keep adding those points there. So this lines come up to this particular point. Now you got the curve. Select the modifier, which is the screw modifier, then select the empty, which is going to be the guide. Now steps should be 60, and there you go, you got your glass model. And now you got the top. So it is always good to name your objects, like I'm going to name this as the base, and now this one as the glass. Naming convention is very important in handling complex scenes. So press Shift A, select the path, rotate 90 degrees, then press G to move it, and then S to scale it, okay? And then just start placing it around here. I'm going to scale it and then move it there. So G and Z, control right click, and then get that core which is going to cover here. And this one here, it's like this. So I'm going to come like that and achieve this shape. So I'm going to select this particular point, enable the snap, and then attach to the center. Hit Tab, and once you got this, go to the screw modifier, and then choose the empty, which is actually sitting in the center of it's working like the axis, okay, center of the axis. So you got this, top. So let me just name this as the top there, okay. So you got almost the center parts which are basically used. So apart from that, you got some shapes which need to be achieved in a different way. So let's take the same path, which I really like instead of Bezier. Very simple to understand, nothing complex about it. So Shift A, curve, path, and then rotate Y 90 degrees and then press G and then move it. So I'll switch off the snap and then use the scale tool for scaling it, and then R to rotate, and then start placing this for the handle there. Now let's press tab and then move this point at this particular point, and then hold Control, right click, and then start moving that until it goes inside. Now select this and do the same thing until it comes. So I'll just try to penetrate this inside again, and then hit tab. Now how do I get that particular shape? So for that you need to select the curve. Okay, once you got the curve here, you got the geometry, and then you got the roundness where you can actually get the thickness. Instead of the roundness, just choose the profile, and you should be able to see the profile is something like this. Okay, now I'm going to select the point and then just drag it inside, and then you got this particular shape, and then select the scale tool and then Y, and then just compress it like that. So that gives me the side handle, and then I can play with the depth until I match the thickness of this particular shape. So once that is done, I just go to the modifier and then choose mirror, and then mirror should be around the axis, which is our helper which we have created, the MP001. So that gives me this model on the both sides. Now we have some rings around this. So for that, let me just press Shift A, and in the curve types, you got one is the circle in the Bezier handle type, and another circle which is basically the points type. So there are two types, right? So I can choose any one of them. Let me try the Bezier circle, and then just go to the circle option, and then we got the thickness, which is going to give me that thickness here. You should be able to see that. So once that is done, I'm going to select the scale tool, S, and then Y, and then scale it. And then I just choose a rotation, R, Y, and then rotate this way. So you got that curve sitting around. Now what is that you need to really do is press tab, select those 2 points, press S and then Y, and then scale it. Then this handle, scale it, and this one, scale it, and then you should get those handles which are almost covering up the curve. So once that is done, again you need to make a copy of this. You can go to the modifiers section, then choose the mirror, and then choose the empty, which brings up that curve on the other side. Very similarly, I press Shift A, curve, and then choose the Bezier circle, rotate Y 90 degrees, and then go to the orthographic right view by pressing 3 on the keyboard, then press G and then Z, and then move that on the top, and then scale that until you get this. So G and Z, and then move it till here, scale it, press tab, select those points, then move that in the Z axis, GZ, then press GZ again, then move it up to this particular point. Then once that is done, you can select the curve, and then you can increase the roundness. All these models can be later converted into meshes. Okay, that is basically possible. So whatever shape you want to get, you can get it here. The only thing is, as I told, you need to select those points, start moving it. Let's say you want to add a couple of points there. I selected these both points, left and right, segments, and then subdivide, and then move that point, and then start working on these handles. Okay, so if you want to take control on a very specific handle, what you got here, you can select that point, press V, and then you got types of handles you want to work with. So I can choose the vector. Okay, then that becomes the sharp. If you want automatic, that becomes smooth, so on and so forth. You can generally control those points as you have here. So I'll just not, as I told, I just wanted to keep this tutorial simple for absolute beginners. So I'm not making this complicated at all. So lastly, I just wanted to put the cover, the hole where I just fill up this fuel tank. So for that, again, you can use your traditional modeling methods, but I would use the same path method. So I press Shift A, curve, path, rotate the Y 90 degrees, then press G and Z, and then move it down like that, and then use the scale tool and then scale it. Okay, and then I'm going to move this a little bit on the side like that. Once I got this up to this level, I select this point and then start moving it. Okay, I can select these 2 points and then go to the segments and subdivide, and then move this point very close so that I get this corner sharper. Curvature, you want that beveled corner, then preferably you just add 3 points there. Okay, now I hold Control, right click, and then start placing those points. Okay, and then here I add 3 points, and then here I add 3 points, and then I come to this one. So I can select all these points here, then press S and then Z, and then all comes to the straight line like that. Okay, and select these 3 lines, select S and X, and then bring them to the straight line. and all of them to be straight line, S, Z, and then all are straight line. Now this one, enable the incremental snap and then move it there, and then we got this one. So once this is achieved, go to the modifier and then choose the screw modifier and then choose the empty. Okay, so that gives that cap. And if you feel that cap is having too much of thickness, then you could generally move it more into the center like that. Okay, and once the cap is achieved, as I told, the segments are the same. I need to continue. I can right click, I can just go to the convert and then choose this to the mesh. Okay, I'll set the origin to the center of mass, which keeps the pivot point to the center, and I'll move this up to this particular point. I go to the orthographic view, which is the right view, and then I scale this and then I choose rotate, and once that is done, I'm going to move it and then place it like that, which is going to be on the top here. So that's how simple it is. And as I told, there are a lot of details around in this particular model which can be done further with modeling tools, but building out the base mesh with the curve tool is the real deal. So which in this particular tutorial, and just follow this simple tutorial and then let me see what you have done. If you want to show me the assignment, just let me know. I'll be in touch with you. I would like to see your work as well. And if you got any questions, ask me in the comment section. And if you like the video, subscribe my channel and hit like button. And thank you very much.